Hi everyone, my name's Théo-Rose. I'm a genderqueer trans guy, and this is my summary update video now that I am 1 year on T. For those who are seeing my channel for the very first time, I've been doing videos every month since I've started testosterone, and this is sort of the little wrap-up of what I've experienced this year and how I feel about it. I'm also going to be putting some comparison pictures, some little diagrams, and some clips of, for example, for my voice changing. And yeah, let's get started. I would like to say before we jump in that a lot of progress was made before I even started HRT. Well, it took me some time to come to terms with my gender, to be able to understand it, to understand what I wanted from my transition. From the time that I started questioning to the time that I started testosterone, huge progress was made, and I gained so much confidence in myself. And at the point where I started T, I was very confident in my gender. I was also surrounded by people who supported me and saw me for my gender, regardless of other factors, regardless of whether I was on testosterone or not. I was just surrounded by a group of very supportive people, which helped a lot. And I found a lot of ways to manage my dysphoria as well, different ways to hide or accentuate my body shape in certain ways, what ways to do my hair that were the least dysphoric for me, ways to express my gender and to be gender non-conforming in a way that still didn't trigger dysphoria for me. So I worked through a lot of these things before starting T. It's not like the start of my transition was hormones and then everything sort of exploded from there. That being said, starting T was a turning point in my transition is very important, and I'll get into it at the end, but it's the best decision I've ever made. I am so happy to have done so, and I even though I had ways of managing my dysphoria and I was in a supportive environment, there were some things, like I knew that I could pass visually, but as soon as I spoke, as soon as I opened my mouth, I'd be misgendered. And I knew that the man that I wanted to be was someone who was on T, who had the effects of T. The person I wanted to be was someone who was on testosterone. So in the end, that's sort of what the tipping point was for me to start. If you want more details on my whole journey to get up to that point, the video that I made just before I started T goes into a long ramble about all of that, so I will link it somewhere so that you can check that out. Not to jump scare you, it has my pre-T voice, which is quite different from the voice that I have now. It's still a good video, but just letting you know. First, I will start by discussing the physical changes that happened. Then we're going to hop onto the emotional and mental changes, some of which are very linked, but we'll get there. So to start, the biggest change and the most noticeable change to outsiders and people I interact with in my day-to-day life is my voice. So my voice changed a lot on T, and it changed pretty fast. I'm comparatively to others, I'm pretty lucky, and it was the change that I wanted from T, was for my voice to change, to evolve. I'm going to show here a little progression of clips that I usually put at the beginning of these little T update videos, but here it is.
My name's Theo, and this is my voice a couple hours pre-T.
Hi, my name's Theo, and this is my voice 1 month on T. Hi, my name's Theo, and this is my voice 2 months on T. My name is Theo, and this is my voice 3 months on T. Hi, my name's Theo, and this is my voice 4 months on T. Hi, my name's Theo, and this is my voice 5 months on T.
Hi, my name is Théo-Rose, and this is my voice 6 months on T.
My name's Théo-Rose, and this is my voice 7 months on T.
Hi, my name's Theo, and this is my voice 8 months on T. Hi, my name's Théo-Rose, and this is my voice 9 months on T. Hi, my name's Théo-Rose, and this is my voice 10 months on T. Hi, my name's Théo-Rose, and this is my voice 11 months on T. My name's Théo-Rose, and this is my voice 1 year on T. Yeah, so it changed a lot, changed very fast. If you stick around till the end of the video, I might put a little section where I show how my singing voice has changed. I am not a singer. I'm not good at singing, I don't think. I sing for fun, but it was still very interesting, and it was a way that I sort of learned to work with my new voice and to train myself to use it better. Before I started testosterone, I was already singing lower, and I was starting to learn how to use sort of a lower register when I talk, and that made it much smoother when my voice started breaking and I started to get a deeper voice. I didn't get wild, crazy voice cracks, but my voice was shakier, was wobblier, I guess, for a little bit, and pretty much every time my voice dropped, I would sort of feel a little weirdness in my throat, maybe in the morning, maybe right before going to bed, and then my voice would drop a tiny bit, and and it sort of settled into how it is now. I don't think that it's going to change that much more. I don't know why it would. It was also a really big change in that it was sort of the main thing that got me misgendered in the past, whereas now if I get misgendered for my appearance and then I speak, people will correct themselves and then gender me correctly, which makes me very happy. That's one of the things that I was aiming for by going on T. And I love my voice, whereas it was a bigger source of dysphoria for me in the past. Now I love to talk. I talk more than ever. I want to never shut up, and I really like what my voice sounds like, so I'm very happy with that. The second change it was changes with my skin. So I have more acne on my face, my back, my shoulders, my butt, just more acne all over, because testosterone makes your skin oilier, or at least it changes how that works with your skin. I haven't noticed it being super oily. I feel like it was more shiny pre-T, but now I definitely have more acne than before. I don't have wild acne, but I have more now than I've pretty much ever had, at least in my first puberty. So that was a change to get adapted to. I didn't have to change, I had to change a little bit sort of my hygiene routine, how I wash my face, for example, to be more mindful of that, but it hasn't been a huge problem for me. Other changes with my skin are just the general feel of it is very subtle, but it's sort of a little less soft than it was before. My veins tend to show more in my hands, my arms sometimes, when I flex them in certain ways. One of the other fast changes that I got was my period stopping. So it stopped on my second month. Yeah, I stopped pretty quickly, and then just did not return. If I were to stop taking testosterone, it would come back, but I'm very happy to not have to deal with that anymore. It was a hassle. I think I just sort of wanted to ignore it, and that just caused problems, but now I don't have to deal with that, and I'm very thankful. I'd say that the next biggest change from testosterone, but one that's much less apparent than my voice, is my amount of body hair. I'm much hairier than I was before, but it's hard to tell because I am wearing clothes. But the main parts that got hairier are my legs. Just the whole leg thigh included. Yeah, my arms slightly hairier, sort of my belly, sort of a happy trail shape, which is appropriately named because it makes me happy. Even though when I put a little band-aid on it after I do my injections, it rips off a couple hairs every time I take it off. I have hair on my, yes, on my arms, but it goes up more on my hands and it's more visible on my hands, which makes them look overall more masculine. I don't think the shape of my hands, other than veins showing more, I don't think the shape of my hands has gotten more masculine, but the fact that there's a little bit of hair growing up on there, it makes them look more masculine, at least to me. I also have hair, yes, on my legs, but also on my feet. I don't like it as much, but I wear socks, so I don't look at it and it doesn't bother me. Yeah, but I'm just overall hairier and it makes me feel like I'm more comfortable in how my body looks, because I was dysphoric previously about how sort of hairless I looked. I felt like I looked like a baby. That was an insecurity of mine. Pre-testosterone. Speaking of hair, facial hair starting to grow. I'll put up some very flattering comparison images. They're not. It's weird close-ups of my face. But as you can see, I have more of a mustache than before. The hairs are actually dark and they are actually coming in. I think the part of my facial hair that is coming in with the most determination is the few little chin hairs that I have that are growing in dark and thicker. If I run my, I shave them off, but if I run my thumb over them, I can feel them be a little bit prickly. Right now it looks silly. It's lopsided. They grow on one side more than the other, so I shave them off. But they grow to be quite wispy and visible. Something that I noticed when I was taking the comparison pictures just today is that I'm starting to have more hair also just underneath the bottom lip, which I'm also going to be shaving because it's a little silly alone there, at least personally. Had a little bit of hair on the cheeks, at least the fuzz, I feel. The fuzz that I've always sort of had on my cheeks is more visible, and I've been told that sometimes there's just a random dark hair. At one point there was one that was basically on my cheek and it was very long and dark and then didn't come back. So, but facial hair is one of the things that takes the most time. I mean, for anyone who goes through a testosterone-powered puberty, facial hair can take a long time. It depends on genetics a lot. I have a little attachment to my mustache, so I'm gonna keep that growing. I like what it does to my face. Very thrilled about that, too. That's one of the things that I'm very excited about, even though that's one of the things that takes the longest time to fully come in. Also going to be putting up comparison pics for this. You might have noticed this in the pictures of showing my facial hair, but my face shape has changed. This is a very progressive change. It's hard to notice, but sometimes I would just look at myself and feel I think something's changing, but it's a very slow thing. Mainly, my jaw is much more squared out. It's less sort of pointy towards my chin. It's much more square. My face is generally wider, just more square in general. Some of that can also be helped by my hairline, which is slightly more square. If your family has a history of male pattern baldness, and you go on testosterone, that will apply to you as well. But yeah, shape of my face changed, is more square. And on a similar note, my neck is much wider than it was before. I don't know if you can see in the comparison pictures, but it changes a lot actually. And it sort of, I can transition into... obviously I'm not going to show comparison pictures of just my whole body, because I am naked in those. But what I've observed is that my neck is wider, my shoulders are as well. The body shape changes are caused by fat redistribution and muscles showing up differently, and the face is also fat showing up differently in the face, among other things. from what I know. So I have like more visible sort of pecs, like that general area is stronger. Yeah, my shoulders are wider. Shirts fit differently on me now. My arms aren't particularly wider, but they have changed shape. They're a little bit more toned, I guess. My torso in general is less hourglass shapey and a little bit more rectangular. So the shirts fit differently on me in general. Another part of that is that because of fat redistribution, my chest is smaller than it was before. Of course, the breast tissue itself is still there, but because the fat that was there, like the natural process of fat burning and then being gained, it burned there and did not come back there. It came back, I guess, like around my belly, more like my thighs, for example. It means that my chest is much more like soft and droopy. Like the way I would best describe it is that they deflated. I noticed this quite suddenly, and I sort of made the joke to myself that like throughout the night someone had deflated my boobs. But it does sort of feel that way. They're easier to squish, so if I don't tend to wear a binder, I just sort of wear clothes in a way where it hides my chest in general. But if I were to wear a binder, they would be easier to squish. So there's that. Somewhat to my dismay, because it's not something that I like that much about my figure, but I have been told that like my butt and thigh area is like chunkier than before. Like I feel like that area of my body sort of accentuates a certain figure that I don't really like, but I reassure myself by telling myself that people like guys with good butts. So pat myself on the back there. Thanks, testosterone. Yeah, so I have I'm slightly more physically strong. I'm more capable of like carrying things, lifting stuff, not to like a superhuman extent, obviously, but enough that I can notice it. And all of that together means that my body shape looks more sturdy, which was something that I was very insecure about in the past, is that I looked very noodly, very frail sort of, and I didn't like that at all. But being on T has made me more strong, looking more sturdy, I guess. Also, something that happens on testosterone is that the smell of your sweat changes. You sweat more, and you're just warmer in general. I've noticed the change in the smell of sweat when I get sweaty. Sometimes I'm like, what's that? But then I realize it is me. I don't know how I would describe it. I have a weird sense of smell, so I have a hard time describing those things, but I haven't noticed that I'm particularly sweatier. I'm not that much sweatier, but I also have a hard time measuring that. How can you tell? I don't know. But yeah, it hasn't changed to a point where it inconveniences me or where I've noticed.
Just wanted to correct this, actually. Now that winter has properly started, I've noticed that when I go in the metro, the subway, underground, whatever you want to call it, I tend to get really warm very fast and I have to take off my coat and my winter gear, whereas everyone is still wearing their coat and winter gear. So, good to know.
Okay, so this last bit, this little bit here, I am going to put a timestamp if you want to skip it, because I'm going to talk about stuff that might be a little bit more TMI. I'm gonna talk about the downstairs. So if you know me in real life, for example, or you just aren't interested in hearing about that, you can skip to this timestamp. Oh, light is hitting me. But you can skip to this timestamp to skip the part where I talk about those things. But I think it's important to talk about them because a lot of people shy away from sharing those things because they're sort of a taboo topic, and it means that information is hard to come by about stuff like bottom growth. So, your last warning, Okay, there we go. So what it is the clitoris grows, becomes bigger and longer, and the skin of the labia also grows to accommodate it, and it forms sort of like foreskin, big air quotes here, over to like sort of protect it. Yeah, and it changes the overall appearance and functioning of that area of the body. It is like the clitoris, but bigger. It's one of the first effects of testosterone, and it is irreversible. At least, like, it can be a little bit reversible, but it's not like, if you've been on T for several months, it is not going to return really to the way that it was before. And some people can find it uncomfortable because it's like it grows and then it is exposed to maybe rubbing on like other part, like your underwear or stuff like that, and then it's very sensitive. It's used to being sort of hidden away and protected, so that can make it very sensitive. It can be like irritating or uncomfortable or like painful because of how sensitive it is. I have to say I did a lot of sort of shifting at the beginning to be comfortable, but now it's just not an issue. I'm happy about it. I like bottom growth. I like what it does. Good stuff. Another thing that can happen down there is vaginal atrophy is what it's called. So basically the vaginal canal becomes drier, so the skin, like, it lubricates itself less and it is drier. And so it's like if stuff is going on in there, it's more likely to tear and to be painful. But I just wanted to mention it because it's something that can happen, and there are ways to treat it, like putting a topical treatment specifically in the area, stuff like that, or just using lube. That has not been an issue for me. So, while we're in this section, I wanted to add one more thing that would fit better in the sort of emotional / mental changes, like having a higher libido. I haven't experienced that very much, somewhat, but not like a super noticeable amount. The thing that made that change more, though, I don't think is a direct effect of the testosterone, but more just an effect of me being more confident in my body and in how I look and in my gender. That growth in confidence also made me more confident in relationships and in my attraction to other people. So I wouldn't feel like, oh, I like this person, but any idea of interacting with them is because I don't like how I look, or I'm insecure about the way that my body is gendered and stuff like that. So that's been a positive change on that end. Now let's talk about the emotional and mental changes. So the first noticeable one was that in the first 3 months I experienced sort of mood swings. Mostly just that my lows were lower because I was going through puberty 2, the sequel to puberty. It was kind of a lot, and it was hard to notice while I was in it because I didn't have like the hindsight to see how much different it would be like in the future, if that makes any sense. And it was also hard to tell if it was because of T or because of outside sort of life circumstances, because other stuff was happening at that time that could have made me more irritable, stuff like that. But I do think it was at least influenced or enhanced by the fact that I had just started hormones. So yeah, for sort of about the first 3 months, I was more irritable. My lows felt more low. Yeah, I felt things sort of more intensely. I wanted to mention this because it, like, yes, I was like more irritable and frustrated at things, but those things, like, I had reasons to feel that way as well, even though what I felt and the response to it was more heightened than it would be if that same thing happened now, for example. And I mention this because at the time I had people tell me, you're only acting like this because now you're on hormones, and like your hormones are making you react this way. And that, although yes, it's referring to a thing that is happening, which is my hormones sort of taking a moment to stabilize themselves, and during that time me being more irritable, it is invalidating and it is disrespectful. It's disrespectful to, it's sort of similar to, oh, you're just like this because you're like on your period. If someone was on their period, it would still not be acceptable to say that to them, because it's still coming from, it's still real emotions that the person is feeling. I don't know, it's just not appropriate to just go, oh, this is happening because of your hormones. And because of all of this, I felt really bad. I felt bad that I was reacting that much or feeling that much. And it made me feel guilty. It's sort of like being on your period and PMSing and having those emotions, and you know that that's why you feel that way, but it still sucks. So I just wanted to name it because I don't know how often that's talked about, but all that to say, after that sort of faded, and now that my body is more used to the hormones that are flowing through it, I am sort of more calm and level-headed than I was at that time. Another thing is, which I guess could count as a physical change, is my ability to cry. I have not cried in several months, despite sometimes getting right to the edge of crying. All of the sort of signs, the throat getting tight, and the eyes getting watery, sort of tension in the face, and like emotionally knowing that had I been pre-T, I would have cried, and then after crying, it would have made me feel better. But it just stays at a sort of plateau, and I have to find another way to let that emotion out, or to like cool myself down. Yeah, it's some say that this is something that passes and then eventually I'll be able to cry again. Maybe. But for now, I just sort of have to work through and find other coping mechanisms, and just sort of take that sort of physical reaction, the throat tightening and everything, as a sign of like how I'm feeling, of overwhelm or sadness or something like that. Now, just something more general that isn't just like hormones do this is my boost in confidence. I was a confident person before, but I am so much more confident now. A big reason for that is that I feel more confident speaking now that I know that my voice sort of reflects how I want to be perceived. In the past, I would speak and it's like there was a little asterisk at the end that was like, ignore what my voice sounds like, I am a man. Which at its core is just sort of a messed up thing that like someone with any voice could and should be able to be considered a man if they are a man. And a man can have a voice that sounds like anything, but the way society is and the way that the internalized transphobia in my brain was things that are associated with men versus with women, it did feel like it was a sort of, it hindered me from talking, from asserting myself. So part of that, and then also just like in general, looking and feeling more aligned with my gender and how I want others to see me, it gives me a lot of confidence. Also, having been able to start T and have this sort of agency over my body and what it looks like, it gave me a lot of confidence as well. And yeah, it just gives me confidence in my day-to-day life in a bunch of different little ways. It also makes me feel more comfortable in my body. So I feel more comfortable looking at myself, wearing clothes that don't hide my figure, for example, as much. It reduced my dysphoria just in general about a lot of things. Even stuff that didn't change that much. Like I mentioned, yes, that my chest did change, but like, it's still there. But I haven't worn a binder in a very long time, mostly just because I find them uncomfortable. And like even trans tape, which I like more than binders, I haven't worn in months. And even if I wear clothes that sort of people can look and see that I have boobs, like I don't really mind as much because I feel so much more in alignment with the rest of my body that I'm like, hey, if there's this one thing that's sort of like apart from that, well, I don't care as much. And I feel like instead of, oh crap, this is the thing that is giving away that I'm a girl or something like that, it feels more just like, yeah, I'm a guy who has boobs. And that's how it is. So it's just made me feel more confident in that same way about a lot of things that I was previously dysphoric about. I've mentioned it briefly before, but I'm also more comfortable in like my sexuality and my attraction to people, because I know that I'm okay with that attraction being reciprocated and people seeing me and being attracted to the me that they see before them, and knowing that that's how I do want to be seen, that's how I do want my body to look like, instead of sort of look past what I look like and be attracted to the guy who's behind that, all of that, who doesn't quite look like what this body looks like, if that makes any sense. But it's made me feel more confident in that regard as well. Speaking of comfort, just feeling more comfortable in my gender and my gender expression. I was never just like a 100% masculine sort of guy. And I was gender nonconforming ever since the beginning of my questioning, my exploration. But as I've been further on testosterone, I've been more and more comfortable being gender nonconforming. Like I haven't painted my nails in months. And in the past I would paint my nails, get dysphoric about it, take it off. But now I'm going to be having shiny nails for the holidays, and it makes me happy. I wear a skirt or a dress and feel comfortable in that. I can, and I did in the past too, but it was more difficult and I was less likely to want to be seen by others wearing more feminine clothes, for example. Another thing is, like, I'm growing my hair out and I feel like comfortable enough to do that because I feel confident enough in the rest of my, the genderedness of what I look and sound like. I just feel more comfortable in my gender expression. I don't know, it feels more aligned with how I feel, and the what I look and sound like from the outside is pretty much exactly what I look and sound like on the inside, which is just very nice. And wasn't the case before, where sometimes I would, for example, watch a video of myself and be like, didn't know I looked that way. Oh no. Now, sometimes it does the same thing, but in reverse, where I listen to a video of myself and I'm like, oh wow, my voice really sounds like that, for real? Like sometimes in my inner monologue, I still have a voice from several months ago. A year is a relatively short period of time to get used to a voice that changed so fast. Like if you listen to my voice comparison from earlier, the voice at the beginning feels just as much like, oh, that's what I sound like, than the voice at the end of the video in my head. So. And I mentioned it briefly when I talked about my voice, but I'm gendered differently now. In the past, I was mainly gendered by strangers as female and addressed as such, whereas now it's mostly the opposite. anyone who I really talk to, or like sometimes people who I interact with in a store, in general, they'll gender me as male. Sometimes they gender me as female still, but it doesn't bother me as much because I feel more sort of affirmed in my gender. For some reason, every time someone approaches me in the street, like someone who's, I don't know, handing out pamphlets or something, they will pretty much always gender me female, which I guess makes sense if you just have like a quick glance of me. I have pretty feminine sort of ways of moving, standing, I guess. It's not really things I want to change. It doesn't bother me that much. I don't want to sort of put energy into changing the way that I move and express myself, because I did that in the past and it is exhausting. And some people may want to do it, and more power to them, but that's not really something I'm interested in. But some people assume, it's hard to tell because you can't read people's minds, but people have assumed that I'm a cis guy, and then I forget that some people think that I'm a cis guy, and then I mention things like, oh, I got my ears pierced when I was like 3 years old. My mom got them done for me. And then they're like, huh, that's unique. That's how I'm gendered in my day-to-day life, and I'm quite happy with it. Okay, so in conclusion, overall, very happy with what has gone on with testosterone so far. If there's one thing that I'm less happy with, it's that I look very young. I have baby face. It's like one of the things that takes a while to change, but it's also something that, in general, transmasculine people, or like some people who go on testosterone, takes a little bit to look your age, quote unquote. I sort of remedy this by dressing cool. Like when I had like shorter hair, and if I wore just like a t-shirt and jeans, I definitely look younger. Now, like if I dress cool enough, people will think I'm a lesbian of my age, which is fine. Overall, just very happy with with where I am. The overall sort of growth and change in my life, I've grown like exponentially, and I can't wait to see in the years to come how I will grow and change even more, and if I will look more my age in the future. But that's just a small thing, and you'll find that a lot of insecurities, a lot of sources of dysphoria that trans men, for example, are shared with a lot of cis men also. Sometimes I worry that I'm too frail and small, and then I look around, and cis men come in a variety of shapes and sizes. And sometimes I worry that I look too young, and then I look around and I'm like, there's no monolith of what a man looks like. And I don't necessarily want to look like a cis man. I want to look like my own kind of man. I'm transitioning to become more authentic to myself and to be who I want to be. And necessarily, that is going to sort of create my own kind of guy. And I'm excited to become that kind of guy even more. Yeah. I think that's a good conclusion. Maybe there's going to be a singing bit right after this. In that case, if there is, I'm sorry, but also enjoy. Yeah, that concludes it. Thanks for watching this video. I will be posting other updates maybe like 6 months from now, who knows. God knows it doesn't take a year for all of the effects of HRT to kick in. This is really just the beginning. Yeah. Goodbye.
and I'm Mr. Loverman. And I miss my Loverman. I'm Mr. Loverman. Oh, and I miss my lover. Shattered now, I'm spilling out upon this linoleum ground. I'm reeling in my brain again before it can get back to you. Oh, what am I supposed to do without you? I'm Mr. Loverman, and I miss my Loverman. I'm Mr. Loverman. Oh, and I miss my lover. I've shattered now, I'm spilling out upon this linoleum ground. I'm reeling in my brain again before it can get back to you. Oh, what am I supposed to do without you? I'm Mr. Loverman, and I miss my Loverman. I'm Mr. Loverman. Oh, and I miss my lover. I've shattered now, I'm spilling out upon this linoleum ground. I'm reeling in my brain again before it can get back to you. Oh, what am I supposed to do without you? I'm Mr. Loverman, and I miss my Loverman. I'm Mr. Loverman. Oh, and I miss my lover. I've shattered now, I'm spilling out upon this linoleum ground. I'm reeling in my brain again before it can get back to you. Oh, what am I supposed to do without you? I'm just setting a trap, and I'm not pulling, no, I'm not pulling for you, you're just pulling at me. I'm not a betting man, but this is a sure thing. I've been to Tokyo, been to South Africa, so many places that you might say I've seen it all, but my favorite place is the warm embrace, holding your hair back in a bathroom stall. I'm just setting a trap, and I'm not pulling, no, I'm not pulling for you, you're just pulling at me. I'm not a betting man, but this is a sure thing. I've been to Tokyo and to South Africa, so many places
that you might say I've seen it all, but my favorite place is the warm embrace, holding your hair back in a bathroom stall. I'm just setting a trap, and I'm not pulling, no, I'm not pulling for you, you're just pulling at me. I'm not a betting man, but this is a sure thing. I've been to Tokyo and to South Africa, so many places that you might say I've seen it all, but my favorite place is the warm embrace, holding your hair back in a bathroom stall. I'm just setting a trap, and I'm not pulling, no, I'm not pulling for you, you're just pulling at me. I'm not a betting man, but this is a sure thing. I've been to Tokyo and to South Africa, so many places that you might say I've seen it all, but my favorite place is the warm embrace of holding your hair back in a bathroom stall.
He's singing, she's a lady, and I am just a boy. He's singing, she's a lady, and I am just a line without a hook.
There is nothing in between, and in my eyes there is a tiny dancer watching over me. He's singing, she's a lady, and I am just a boy. He's singing, she's a lady, and I am just a line without a... Oh baby, I am a wreck when I'm without you. 'Cause there is something and there is nothing in between. And in my eyes there is a tiny dancer watching over me. She's a lady, and I am just a boy. She's a lady, and I am just a line without a